All right, like what I was saying in my last video, breakdown metal. There's no way that it was clear, like solely inspired by punk music. Like you definitely got an inspiration from slam metal, Wigger slam metal, metal music. Like, come on, listen to this. Yeah, that's what I.
In 1988, Just released her debut EP, New York Crew, as possible. Last but
Yeah,
not
back
least,
to
in
where we were.
1989, Outburst released their debut EP, Miles to Go. This EP was another game changer with the riffs and drumming, which used a slower pace and got straight to the lyricism about brotherhood and life. At the time before it was called Beatdown, all of these albums that I mentioned were so-called tough guy music. Many bands were formed in the late 80s such as Biohazard, Bloodline, Coes Life, and Sheer Terror, and all four released their debut projects while beginning to make music. Things started to change slightly in the 90s when some bands became moderately successful. For example, the first hardcore band that made it big in the
Bro,
90s was
how are you gonna make a fucking outfit that's just jeans and a sweatshirt
Biohazard, which was a
for
hardcore
Halloween?
band that combined hardcore, metal, and hip hop. Biohazard was also an early example of rap metal before it was named nu metal later on. They released their first album in 1990, but their second album was Urban Disciple after they signed to Roadrunner Records, the biggest metal label to this day. Since their release, they played many MTV music videos and sold millions of copies. Their hit single, Punishment, was a success in that it was the most played song in Headbangers Brawl. 2 years later, they signed to Warner Bros. Records, which was more prominent label than Roadrunner. They had the same success as their Urban Disciple, selling their third album, State of the World Address, selling millions of copies also. However, after their fourth album, Matale,
The other thing I think that's cool about this is like it's like a cool like gateway into metal for people that are like, oh, I can't understand the lyrics, because like then you have songs where it's like they're doing gutturals and shit, and then they do like normal vocals, and then switch like back and forth, like it's good in between.
they left the label and returned underground. And who can I forget about Madball? At first, they formed a band in the late 80s when Freddie Christian was 12 or 13 years old, since his older brother, Roger Mirad, was in agnostic front and let Freddie start a music career that young. They released their first two EPs when Freddie was in high school at that time. In 1994, they reached out to Roadrunner and signed them, which released their debut album, Set It Off. This album revolutionized the hardcore genre. It reached a large fan base and even went on world tours with famous acts like Black Sabbath and Slayer. It even had a music videos, which was rare to see hardcore bands doing music videos besides Biohazard. In 1996, Bulldoze released their only studio album, The Final Beatdown. This album pioneered the word beatdown, which later became a name of the genre that everyone knows called beatdown hardcore, and influenced many newer bands thanks to Bulldoze with slow-paced riff and fast rhythm strumming. In 1997, Hatebreed released their debut album, Satisfaction is the Devil's Desire. This album was a breakthrough and one of the most essential albums in the hardcore genre. It helped to break hardcore music into the mainstream and more prominent audience. even going bigger than Madball was. It was even the biggest selling debut record by any hardcore band. It was so successful for their first album that they signed with a major label, Universal Records. So in the early 2000s, Hatebreed led a massive role in movies. Their song "I Will Be Heard" was their second album. Perseverance appeared on Triple X and Texas Chainsaw Massacre. 2003, I mean. Hatebreed also headlined
Oh
tours
shit.
with Slipknot, Avenged Sevenfold, and was nominated for the Grammy Awards in 2005. While the success of Hatebreed happened, many beatdown bands were still underground and many were still going strong without having a major label. Still, with the rise of metalcore popularity, many bands were more influenced by metal than hardcore, such as Killswitch Engage, Trivium, and Shadows Fall. On the other hand, beatdown hardcore influenced newer bands, with many bands pushing boundaries with different genres such as deathcore and black metal. Many bands involved in this genre were signed by two labels that helped shape beatdown hardcore, Victory and Trustkill Records. So it was getting more attention for the label since both were signing numerous popular bands. The whole scene was falling off at that point since metalcore was taking over in the hardcore and metal scene, and it stopped having much of the entire brutal tough guy metal since the scene fashion was taking over in metalcore. For example, Bring Me the Horizon, The Devil Wears Prada, and the one who changed metalcore of all, Attack Attack.
Hell yeah, that's a good name. Attack, attack.
In the 2010s, it was the same as in the 2000s, but the difference was that many beatdown hardcore bands were now at metal festivals with the same lineup as other metal bands. Many newer bands were formed during the 2010s,
Bro, I can't believe that some of this was inspired by metalcore. There's no way.
such as Farios, Never Ending Game, Kublai Khan,
It's exactly what I was saying
Mugshot,
before.
Karma, and most famously, Knocked Loose.
So maybe it wasn't inspired by weird slime metal. It was more inspired by MySpace metal.
Knocked Loose was the most famous in that genre, and their song Counting Worms became their most renowned song thanks to their breakdown and even numerous memes. I know Knocked Loose stopped doing beatdown hardcore after Laugh Tracks, but they're still heavy and got really popular. In 2019, Tsunami was formed and became the fastest growing band thanks to social media like YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. At first, they were a parody band making fun of hardcore stereotypes in music, but as soon as they went viral during lockdown, they were blowing up big time. Today, many beatdown hardcore bands remain underground, while some bands who blew up get to be in a bigger venue. Although many fans sometimes criticize for being commercialized, as Hatebreed, Knocked Loose, and Speed give you a lot of promotion with products and call them sellouts. Their concerts? Holy shit. If you're not the type of concert goers that don't like mosh pit or slam dance, I mean, why are you even here in the first place? Then this concert is not for you. These concerts are very dangerous, and you must be careful with the crowd killers. What is it? They're an audience that attacks someone who does not mosh. And even if you do mosh, they will still hit you, so you're not safe in both ways. Their fashion? I will put up these two pictures to describe fashion in that genre. Can you guess what the similarities are between both of these pictures? They love baggy clothes and dress like they're in the mid 2000s rap music video. I understand
Oh
that
yeah.
half of the bands grew up in a rough neighborhood, so that's why their music and
They
fashion are
dress
so
like
aggressive. The controversy surrounding beatdown hardcore is that it's often categorized as an ignorant genre since its lyrics are pretty awful. They usually use lyrics containing homophobia and violent threats. Many beatdown bands get hated for being repetitive and not knowing how to play an instrument
Why
well.
don't you just say
The
gay
album cover
bashing
for this
instead
genre
of
have the band members standing or looking at you like you got knocked out. Guns, war, riots, and badass skeletons. Oh, and don't forget about adding black and white filters all the
See,
time.
it's not a real
Despite
metal
having
genre
mixed
unless you
perception
make
of
fun
that
of
genre,
gay people.
we can all agree that it's great to listen to
Talk
when you
shit
work
about gay
out.
people. Gay bash.
The best albums I will recommend to listen for starters are Born to Land Hard by Coes Life, Rise of the Underdog by No Retreat, Not Through Blood by Pain of Truth, 1134 by Irate, Just Another Day by Never Ending Game, Broken Ties, Spoken Lies by Shadow Realm, Haymaker by Throwdown, Revenge for Society by Blood for Blood, and California by First Blood. Thank you so much for watching my video. Consider to like and subscribe for more videos to come. I'll see you next time.
Hell yeah. Um, we gotta go to. Is there any? Oh, it does sound like a little bit like metalcore on this one.
Don't bite our shit.
Hi, Jack. Bye, Jack.
Coming for you just to burn for the that you can't concentrate. Any sort of different thing gets thrown at the window, and you will be back up for you. So we'll be with free, not even a little more to the sea, 'cause I'll be here waiting for to see you.
Oh yeah, that's fucking cool. Smashed in face with a baseball bat. He barely talks in this one.
You're not a brother?
power of violence.
Next time, love! Time to stand on your own 2 feet! Go walk alone and don't lean on me!
Alright, like and subscribe to Giga Chud Gaming.